Good morning, everybody. This is Danny from Deep South Homestead, back on Porch Time today. Guys, it's another day, another beautiful day. The weather is kind of strange in the Deep South for us. I look back at my records and it's a lot different than what it's been in previous years. Like I got up this morning at 69 degrees and the heat index, now it's been 69 to 73 in the mornings all for the last week or so. But during the day, the heat index, now this is index, guys, which to me is might as well be the temperature because it's what it feels like. It's been 103, 104, which is almost breathtaking because the skies are clear. And I mean, the sun is just beaming down. It's not an orange sun anymore. It's almost like a white sun. It's just beaming down on us. And when we do get a rain, it's a massive rain. And when we do, now I'm noticing something different, and y'all might want to leave a comment down below if this is happening to you. After every massive flood, now this is only after a big flood, we lose 1 to 3 tomato plants just at random, any variety, it doesn't matter. They just all of a sudden be big old, I got some of them out here 5 foot tall, loaded with tomatoes, and the next morning they just all wilted down and almost completely dead. I've looked at other YouTube channels. They're having the same problems after a rain. I've got to figure this out because I don't know what's causing it, but it is happening. And I don't know if it's because it gets so cool during the rain, because it get down in the 60s during the rain here, and then all of a sudden the sun pops back out and it's like 100 and something degree heat index, and it's just scalding them. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why it's not getting all of them, and it just picks one randomly throughout the place. I have no clue. If it's a virus, I just don't know. If it's happening to you, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know if you're experiencing the same thing somewhere else in the United States. I know some people locally within an hour drive of me is having the same exact things happen. But other than that, things are doing really well as far as growing. The high tunnels are loaded with food. I mean, they're just beyond. We picked peaches this past week, or the first of the week. Yesterday we picked peaches out of the high tunnel. Corn is probably the Hickory King. First year I planted it, probably chest high to almost head high to me right now. The heat that seems to love it, that's doing good. And guys, it's just interesting how that things are turning out this year with the food system and growing it. Now I finished this last Sunday morning. I got up and I planted my last sweet potato draws that I had out of a bed. Now this was a 4 foot by 4 foot bed. Y'all go back and watch the video. You'll see the sweet potatoes I put in it there. I've planted close to 500 sweet potato draws out of that bed. Completely have 1, 2, 3 gardens loaded with sweet potato draws, and I'm through. I don't have anywhere to plant anymore, and that's I don't know about what it takes for me and Wanda to make it for a year, because I eat on average 2 sweet potatoes every 2 days. I eat 2 sweet potatoes a sweet potato a day, you might as well say. Use somehow or other. Sometimes I eat 2 a day because they're just so healthy and so loaded with nutrition. And I don't know if it's like this where you're at, but the horseflies are just ungodly. Now, they're always bad here when sweet corn tossels. That's when the horseflies get really, really bad. And the sweet corn is tosseled. It's over here, but the horseflies continue to hang around. I'm getting as a matter of fact, I have it in the barn now. I have a cattle rub to hang up for my cows. I got to put something on it to be able for them to walk under it and get it on their backs and see if we can stop some of the flies from, being so bad on the cows, because this weather, cool, hot. It's just the plants don't know what to do. So, in this new, I'm going to call this the new society that we live in, the new world, because it is nothing like what it used to be. I mean, you think about the old life or the old America versus the new America, old technology versus new technology, old ways versus new ways. We have all this to contend with, and people like me that's it's in their early 60s, we remember how it was, and I'm going to call it the good old days, because definitely it was a lot better than it is now in some aspects. Now, some aspects it wasn't, but in some aspects it was a lot better. And there's nothing brought that home to me anymore than this past week I bought a 1956 Cub Farmall. Identical replica of the one I had, or my dad had when I was a kid, that I learned how to garden on. This one was completely rebuilt. Had 15 minutes on the motor when I got it, and I went back and I'm doing a lot more upgrades to it, because I'm just, y'all know me, I'm OCD. I like everything. I just like it almost perfect, And I'm redoing lots of more stuff on it, putting new gauges and new seat covers and new battery box, new toolbox, things like that. Don't really do anything for the tractor, but it's stuff that I want done to it. I've readjusted clutches, readjusted the brakes on it, and putting alamites where alamites wasn't at, but it needs one, because just didn't think about it back then, I reckon. I mean, I'm drilling and putting that kind of stuff in, making sure everything greases like it's supposed to, and putting new parts on it that has old parts, but I'm putting new ones back in place of it. These tractors was the #1 sold tractor. Probably more of these tractors have been sold in America than any other tractor around. I mean, they were sold from like 1948, I think it was, somewhere along in there, to like 1970 something. It was the all-around tractor for the small homestead, and there's just hundreds of thousands of them out there. You can still get all the parts for them. It's just amazing to me. And they're not very many horsepower. They're like 9 or 10 horsepower. Your lawnmower's got more horsepower than they have. But guys, these tractors are a symbol of America at its best. This one tractor, even though it's so simple and so little, it has any piece of equipment to go with it that is needed on a homestead. You can disc a field, you can plow a field, you can hammer corn, you can run a hammer mill with it to make your own feed, you can cut with a sickle bar mower. Guys, the old ways in America, in a lot of ways, were the great ways. And when I saw this tractor in the condition it was in, I had to buy it. And because on our homestead here, and I have a new Kubota, and y'all seen that tractor, and it's a great tractor. Front end loader, all that stuff's really good. It saves my back on lots of things. But the old Cub Farmall, when I'm plowing, I can see my plants right in front of me, and it's just awesome to do. I can do a better job of raising my vegetables that's in the fields. I can plow corn when it's a lot taller. My Kubota's only like 8 to 10 inches off the ground. This thing's like 2.5 feet off the ground. I mean, so I can straddle corn when it gets a lot bigger and plow it, and bed it up and hill it up. It's got disc killers that goes with it. All this stuff, it's just great to have. But the new Kubota has its benefits too. It's a 4-wheel drive. I mean, I can move my hay around with it. Got the spear on the front end of it. It's got the quick hitch attachments on the front of it that I can do anything with it, except plow my garden like I need to. It's got a tiller attachment that goes on the back. I can make a perfect field with that tiller, come behind it with the Farmall, and plant my stuff in there. And guys, I'm looking for the fertilized. I have the fertilized hopper, but it's not in good shape. But I don't have any of the gear systems that goes with it or anything like that. I don't even know how it all works. I don't even know how it all hooks up. I've looked at some videos online, and I've got to order a ton of parts, it looks like, to just be able to make this for side dressing corn, side dressing my beans and stuff like this. I've just got to be able to try to come up with all this stuff, And then it will be the perfect plow for the homestead, the perfect little tractor. Now, there's just so many things that's old that's better than the new, and there's so many things that's new that's better than the old. And our job as people is to try to mesh the two of these together, and that's what I'm doing here at Deep South Homestead. I'm trying my best to mesh the old with the new. I'm trying to take what's beneficial from the old, and I'm trying to take what's beneficial from the new, and I'm trying to bring them together and find a happy medium there so that I can make our way of food production so much more economical here at Deep South Homestead and much more productive. Now, sweet potatoes, now I've got the disc killer to go on the back of my Kubota that I've showed y'all, but when I'm trying to disc kill them with them disc killers on the back, I'm covering up my plants half of the time. I'm having to get off and get the dirt off of them. But with the disc killers, I can put them under the front end of it, and I can go along and I can watch the dirt just pile. Perfect. I mean, it's perfect. And one thing that this old 56 model tractor has taught me, and I really did not realize this until I actually got on it and drove it again from the first. Last time I drove one, I was 12 years old. I got on it now at 60-something years old to drive it again, and I put it in second gear, wide open, and I'm doing maybe 2 miles an hour. Maybe, I mean, I don't know, maybe 3. And I'm thinking, man, this thing sure is slow. So I put it in third gear, and it wasn't much faster. I mean, a little faster, but not much. And I'm sitting there thinking, when I'm driving this thing down the road, I'm like, man, it just don't go very fast. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. It's not about how fast we go at anything. It's about enjoying the experience. That's what made these tractors so great, is that they were compact. They're probably the first compact tractor ever made. And they're not in a hurry. They've got plenty of power. They're governed, where they got a governor system on them that keeps the power pulling. It keeps the fuel going to it. And guys, it was a wake-up call to me to slow down and enjoy what I'm doing, because I put that Kubota on there and put that thing in gear and I take off with it, so I can plow a row in maybe 2 minutes or less. I mean, I'm like a minute maybe. I'm down one of them rows and ready to come back another row. And the Kubota, I mean the little Cub Farmall, 4, 5 to 6 minutes to down a row because it's so slow. And I'm like, you know what? I've been missing the whole concept of everything for so long, because I've gotten caught up in this world that we live in that's a microwave society. It's instant gratification. Everything is instant. I want this, I want that, I want to do it now, I want it done, and I want it done my way, and I want it, you know, we got this in the mentality. I understand now why people's the way they are. Just simply because this modern stuff is driving us nuts, while supposedly it's helping us to be more productive. And I'm here to tell you, I went back and started looking at some videos on this old tractor. People are still plowing 30-acre fields with these tractors with vegetables, because they said they do just so much better job than the new ones do. And the experience, and they said it's more time consuming, but they're actually making more production from these tractors than they do from the big ones and the more modern ones. And guys, you know, if anything, if you don't get anything else from today, it's time for us to just slow down and for us to take thought about what we're doing. The gentleman, now this is something very interesting, and I didn't bring this up in conversation. He did. I was at his house to purchase the tractor, and I went in, like I told y'all on the live stream the other night. I knew the gentleman. He was my neighbor when I was a kid, and he looked at me and he said, "Danny, you know," and this man's way on up in age now. Great man. I'm talking about great, salt of the earth man. Wanda said it reminded her of her father. before he passed away. His just the way he was, very honest. A matter of fact, almost too honest. He said, "Danny, you know, I don't know what's happened to people today." He said, "People have to call you, or they have to text you, or they have to send you an email to say, I'm gonna come by. I'd like to come by and visit with you." He said, "I've never done that in my life. I don't plan on doing it." He said, "If I want to see somebody, I just drop by their house." He said, I like people to just drop by my house unexpectedly here while I'm here." He said, "That's the way it's always been my whole life. You see somebody or you want to go visit somebody, you don't have to call them and tell them you're coming over or send them a message and say, 'Hey, I'm going to come over and see you for a moment.' He said, man, you just drop by and say, 'Hey, I was on my way to town, thought I'd drop by and say hello,' or 'I had a spare moment. Do you need some help with something? I got a little free time on my hand. If you need a project you need some help with, I'll be more than glad to get out here and help you. If you want to take a break, I'll give you somebody to sit down and talk to. Want to drink a cup of coffee? You know, have a glass of lemonade, a glass of water." Guys, when he brought that up to me, I thought, wow, how true that is. This guy brought back, he flooded memories into my life of the way things had been for so many years of my life. And I had almost converted to people saying, you know, "Oh, I need to let you know when I'm coming by." Well, you know, with the YouTube channel, if somebody wants to come by, I've got a lot going on, and I do appreciate when somebody tells me they're going to come by. But I know what he means when he says, like on a Sunday afternoon or something, people would just drop by for a visit and sit on the porch and just chit-chat with you, you know, and just enjoy fellowship and conversation. Guys, that's something from the old that was really good. And it's something in the new that just don't happen anymore. We have to stop and think about, what are we actually losing in a high-tech society? Is a high-tech society really benefiting us that much? In some aspects, the answer is yes. In some aspects, like I said, the answer is absolutely no. We're becoming a society that is isolated. We're all isolated, and y'all know about that when we went through the CV thing here this past year, and now people's going and getting this right here, and nobody has time for anybody anymore. Everybody's all in a mad rush, and they got, supposedly technology's made it where we have more time than we've ever had, and we're able to accomplish more, but it seems like that it's just the opposite. It seems like now we have less time because we're in a bigger hurry. We're wearing ourselves out. We're burning the candle at both ends, and then when we get to the end of our life, we look back and we go, what have I accomplished? And the answer is, for most people, it's nothing. Because all they've done is work for somebody else their whole life, and when it comes down to it, they work 30 years for a house? How ridiculous is that? You know, I mean, I know people right now that's in their 30s and 40s that own absolutely nothing. They own nothing. And they got kids and they own nothing. That's beyond me. I mean, at 20 years old, I already owned 10 acres of land I had bought and paid for. I already had a home that was paid for. You know, guys, it wasn't a big old fancy home now, but it was a house. Guys, so much has changed. We spend 30 years of our life buying a home, and all we want to do, now this is what blows me away of the new society, all we want to do is go on a trip or a vacation and get away from it. And it's taking all of our income to pay for. But we want to get away from it and go somewhere else. How stupid is that? The old people built little ranny shack houses, and some of them were nice homes and some of them were just plain old houses. They spent their whole life there and never went nowhere and was just as happy and content as they could be. Saved their money, left an inheritance for their kids, and died proud people. Today, we work a frustrating long 9, some of us 12, 15 hours, mine were 16-hour days, a lot of them, on jobs to pay $300,000 plus for a house for 30 years, and when we get to the end of our life to retire, most of us still don't have it paid for. And what do we have? Absolutely nothing but a worked to death life. For the last 30 years, we didn't get to enjoy none of our life. We was always working for somebody else, trying to make the almighty dollar to take a trip and get away from that $300,000 home. Blows me away, guys. Where are our values today? It just blows me away. And in the new world that we live in, you know, used to you could say whatever you wanted, and that was a big issue with my daddy. Now I had to reel my daddy in so many times when he got old. Somebody would be talking to him, and my daddy would just say anything. I mean, I told him, I said, "Dad, you can't say that." "Well, I don't know why. It's the truth, son." I said, "Dad, we don't use those words anymore." "Well, why not?" I told him, I said, "Because now we have other words that we use. We don't use those kind of words." Well, some of them was medical words, and he said, "Well, they're in the medical book, ain't they? You know, ain't that what they call them kind of kids for years?" And I said, "Dad," I said, "that is what they used to call kids, you know, used to." I said, "But there's new names now. They don't call them that kind of stuff anymore." "Well, I'm not converting, son. I'm gonna call it like I see it, you know." Or my dad was just one that just stuck with the old ways. And guys, that's one thing I'm noticing in the new society. We have new words today. Now, there's some new words that we've been talking about that you're probably going to see a lot more of. One of them is allowed. In the future, you're going to be hearing a lot more of the word allowed, because you've been allowed to do this now. You're allowed to do that. Or you're going to begin to hear this word used a lot more, the word extreme. They're extremists, you know. It was a group of extremists, or the weather temperature is extreme. You know, everything is extreme. It's a word you're going to see used a lot in the future. And you're also going to see another word used. It's going to be the word outbreak. You know, "Oh, there was a massive outbreak of people over here. They did this, or they done that, or there was this virus. It was an outbreak, or we got an outbreak of this disease, or an outbreak of that disease in the future." And these are words you're going to hear a lot more of in the future. So keep those words in mind, because that's going to be your new society, your new existence. In the old times, you didn't hear this too much. Now, you did back in. It's funny how words go in cycles, because you know, before the turn of the century, you had outbreaks. In the 1800s, you had outbreaks, and people talked about it. But then all of a sudden, it just went away, and you didn't hear too much more about outbreaks, and you never heard too much about extremes until you got to the times when the Dust Bowls was coming around here in America, and the land was just drying up, and they were talking about how extreme the weather was, how extremely dry it was. And guys, these are not new words, but they go in cycles. And here in the near future, you're going to hear these words used a lot again. So, guys, is the new always better than the old? The new America, what is the new America going to be looking like? Well, I had prayed to God about that, and I said, "Lord, I don't know what this new country is going to look like in the next few years, but I need to know what to do." And He led me to the passage in the Bible where the Israelites were taken captive by the Babylonians, and they were panicking because they had not kept the Sabbath. And He said, for every year, 7 years you didn't keep the Sabbath, you went into a year of captivity, and ended up being 70 years in captivity in Babylon. And they're like, "Lord, what do we do? We're in a new existence here. What do we do?" And He said, "Build houses, marry, have kids, grow gardens, and obey the new society. That's what you need to do. And guys, and that's exactly what God told me. He said, with the new world that's coming, it's not going to be what it was. It's not going to be how it was when we grew up. But continue to marry, continue to have our children, continue to plant gardens, continue to build houses. Guys, just live. That's what the Lord is saying. Just live. Now, we do know we're in the latter days of an age, and as we're in the latter days of this age, everybody says, the scripture says, to look up because your redemption draweth nigh. And a lot of people get this mentality that because we're getting in the latter days of the age and that the calling out of the people may be close, that they're to just not do much. And they say, we're supposed to wait on the Lord. But guys, if you look that word wait up, it's the same word that's used for the word waiter, which means to be busy. It means to be going about your daily routine, not to stop and just wait like what we think the word wait means. That's one of the downfalls of the King James Version Bible, is they used words that really wasn't, in my opinion now, they probably wasn't the best word to choose, but nevertheless, it's the word that was used. But you need to go back to some of the more original manuscript and see what word was actually used there to get a better understanding. And I'm not saying it's the wrong word to use. You just need to get a better understanding of the word that was used in that place. But we're to be busy, guys. We're in the latter days of this age now. It's time to be busy. And don't stop and sit down, and don't wait expecting the rapture to happen and take you out of here before everything happens. I'm not going to get into that discussion with people because I don't think it's worth it. I think a lot of people, I know I was raised a particular way for 50 years of my life, and took God slapping me upside the head to make me understand what life is really going to be like. But we need to prepare, guys. We need to prepare and do the best that we can do for our families and for our children. The Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. We need to stop and think, are we busting our tails, working ourselves to death, and leaving our family with absolutely nothing except debt? Or are we being wise for what the Lord's blessed us with? And are we leaving an inheritance to our children's children, which means our grandchildren, guys? Food for thought today. So guys, I know Porch Time been maybe not controversial or anything like that, but guys, we need to stop and think about the old versus the new. Which is the best? Or should we merge the two and search what the Lord has for us? I think we should merge the two and search and see what the Lord has for us. Thank you, guys, from Deep South Homestead.